now we're gonna look at creating heel mobility or motion in that calcaneal surface. So the importance of calcaneal or heel motion is one, so that our feet don't get stuck kind of in this rocked, inverted position that create a tendency for us to kind of roll the ankles inward and actually probably increase our likelihood to get an ankle sprain on the lateral side or roll it while we're running, etc. So we're gonna work on moving that guy next. So all we're gonna need is a place to sit, your own hands, and your handy dandy lacrosse ball. So what we're gonna look at doing is placing your support hand or same hand as leg you're working on at just around the ankle. So we're gonna squeeze back at the Achilles and then wrap to this squishy part of the front of the foot. And then the other hand, we're gonna take and support the calcaneus here. So once you're set here, we're looking at using the base of your hand here to your fingers to create this force. So the thumb is just kind of hanging out on top. So you've got your stability hand here holding things down, and then you're just gonna rock down and up. Like I said, it shouldn't be a lot of motion. Just play with the angle that you're pulling at it. Again, you're not locked into any one specific direction of mobility, you're just moving. After you spend about a minute or two doing this rocking of the heel bone, then you can take your lacrosse ball. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna look at tacking and kind of twisting some of the fascial tissue and connective stuff that comes in and hooks the heel bone up to the Achilles and up into this middle ankle bone and down into the bones of the foot and down into the fascia of the plantar fascia. So we'll take your ball, we're just gonna push and twist, push and twist. And you're gonna work on each side for about a minute or so is generally plenty for such a small area. And make sure you're twisting both ways. So you can come through and twist and then tack and twist back the other way. You can mobilize the foot a little bit, so kind of wiggling it around, exposing new areas of tension. And again, for just about a minute there. And then we gotta work on the other side, of course. So on your area that you're sitting, you're just gonna place the ball in that same space between the ankle bone and the bottom of the heel. So you're gonna kind of tack the ball in there, so the weight of your foot's actually tacking this down, and then you can scrub around, twisting both ways and working that full area. You can flex, expose different areas, and just move around. After you get your minute on this side, you're gonna come back to your rocking and see if anything's improved. So you're gonna get stabilized, take your hands, squeeze down with that pad of your thumb or pad of your palm, and then slide it down and rock it up. So it's not a lot of force, nice slow movements. Be mindful, pay attention to what you're doing, and just see what kind of motion you can create. Let's look at toe mobility next. So as much as we would love to just ignore those feet and those toes, they're really important for a lot of the connections up the chain, that we have mobility in the web spaces of our toes and in the movement of especially the big toe, for every single step that we take, so that we get the proper gait motion. So what we're gonna do is, in a seated position, you're gonna take your working foot and you're gonna get it situated on top of your other leg. And then we're gonna interlace your fingers through each toe. So that's our starting point, is maybe getting a little bit of lotion so that the skin isn't so tacky and sticky between the toes, so it's a little bit less painful. But what we're doing is taking 4 fingers into 4 spaces, right? And then you're just gonna work up and through that tissue. It may not be the most comfortable thing that you've done today, but you're just gonna glide and slide forward and back, spending a minute or so just working the tissue first. And then after you complete your minute, you can kind of get situated again, and then think about just sort of wiggling the toes, like one at a time. Flex the big toe, extend the big toe, and just work that tissue back and forth. And then do all the toes flexing and extending. You can add in the ankle, just while creating this separation in the web space with your fingers. Spending another minute or so there, just wiggling around. What a great TV time activity to work on each and every night. It's a great thing to do on both feet, as it really just opens up your neural system and gives you some extra feedback for when you're walking around. A great way to then finish all your mobility work is with an arch contraction. So looking at contracting the arch of your foot to create that stability, to keep all those things in the correct position. What we're going to do is find ourselves in a seated place. And then we're looking at the musculature of the arch of your foot. So to contract this, we're looking at bringing the base of the first met back to the front part of the heel by shortening this space. So this is easily done if we really curl the toes and crank back, and that does contract some of that musculature, but we're actually looking at just creating a smaller motion without a lot of toe curling and flexion. So you're just squeezing that. You're gonna hold for 2 to 3 seconds and relax it down. Squeeze and hold. And try to relax those toes. Mine doesn't want to relax today. And relax. Maybe 10 to 15 of these guys to finish off all the great mobility work that you already completed. And then we can look at toe strengthening. So in looking at the toes, we want to create different pathways to be able to control the toes. So leaving the small toes down, you can then drive your big toe up and relax. Drive it up and relax. As the muscle that extends this big toe is a separate muscle than the one that extends the smaller toes. So maybe 10 to 20 with that big toe, and then you're gonna switch, and leaving the big toe down, you're then gonna drive the little toes up. And you wanna practice in a way so that you don't have to physically hold the toe down anymore, but that you can develop the power and control to be able to lift and leave the other toe down on its own. And same thing, 10 to 20 of those guys.